Right. Well, welcome to episode 2 of Relational AI Diaries. Here we are in our second episode. Thanks ever so much to everyone who's engaged with the content we produced last week. Just to be clear, Agnieszka's posting links to this on her LinkedIn, and people are engaging there and commenting, and we're getting some discussion going there. So that's very welcome, and thank you to everyone who's contributing to that. We're going to go for another episode now. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about, actually quite varied. We're going to talk about some really good stuff. There's Agnieszka's published an article in Times Higher this week, and we can talk about that. But also we want to pick up on some of the ramifications, some of the fallout that's still coming from the Adam Raine case, which is been so important in our thinking about the ethics of AI. So we've got quite a lot to talk about again. So Agnieszka, Times Higher. Tell us
Yes,
about that.
I'm happy, and I've written for Times Higher over the years regularly, and my kind of the latest thing is about AI, but I have written quite consistently on ethics of various things in higher education in this country and in Poland, of course, as well, and about the notion of freedom. And my piece this week is very much about a possibility of AI, ChatGPT, and other language models in particular to be used in creative and positive ways as ways to brainstorm, to do creative stuff. So I've quoted from the New Yorker. There's a big article about a professor of maths, mathematics, and how he brainstorms with his machine, as I like calling them. So but fundamentally, without taking away any of the concerns or risks or dangers that there are, it's important to know and to recognize and to acknowledge in public domain that this new technology, it is technology, is wonderful, and it's a gift. And we just, as people, as humans, we need to learn how to use it best and creatively, but also ethically. And that will bring us to various other topics that we have, right?
Yes, yes, it's interesting in the use in HE. I'm mindful that when in some ways it's very easy for me to say everyone out there in HE should be using AI. I don't have the day-to-day pressures and uh, issues that academics have to cope with in the higher education system, and I can think maybe they're just thinking, oh no, something else I have to need to worry about. But it does at least give us the opportunity to kind of look above that from a higher level and think about what the possibilities are. And I know people get so hung up on this idea of plagiarism and it's copying and it's copy and paste and because assessment drives higher education thinking so much rather than actually genuinely teaching, learning and research. It seems to be all but students who just want to know what they have to do to pass, and academics are just worried about making sure they stick to all the rules on that. So how did you tackle that in your article?
Well, I'm just saying what we need to do as educators is focus on how to teach students, including research students, because I'm only really engaged in PhD supervision now, but how to engage people at every level, starting from school, in how we use it creatively, meaning not just think of it as a shortcut. I mean, that I mention it in passing, but clearly there's a lot more to say about it because we know that people like the line of least resistance. If it's possible to do less work, then students might be tempted to do less work. That's the problem. So we need to, in terms of education, that we need to find ways in which the engagement can be fun, creative, and maybe using game strategies. So since my post about our podcast, I have been approached by some people who deal with gaming and AI, so maybe they're going to come here and talk to us. because I think that would be useful to know how to deploy other strategies to engage young people without just them being encouraged to use sources without really reading them properly or referencing incorrectly, which can lead to all kinds of issues. And of course, the danger is that the gap between not just the rich and the poor, but those who are well educated and those who just can't be bothered is going to be widening, because it will be easy and possible to get through, I think, various qualifications, however you look at it. And only people who are, educated to understand that this is going to be your superpower, how to be able to access the vast knowledge that is offered by for example, language models, not even talking about anything else. So our role and the role of teachers, even at schools, will be changing. And that is a massive job, which I think there's a lot to be done, and it's simply not yet happening, right? So what I am writing, what I will continue to write and continue to talk about, because I think this is a real kind of, it's a moment in time that is worth talking about it, is because the confusions are massive. I mean, in the same Times Higher, I think the week before, so if you look at the page, there's also a conversation about how catastrophic it is that PhD students, research students use now ChatGPT, for example. And it's not just ChatGPT. Claude is wonderful, I think, for referencing, and it's for proper editorial judgment. If you go to on Claude, I don't want to particularly plug it, but if you go to Opus section, then it will really, if you say, okay, give me feedback on my writing and be tough, it really, you may not like what you're going to see there. So it's a kind of much tougher than ChatGPT altogether. And I think I'm not surprised it's beginning to do very well in the marketplace and also in terms of the investments because of its design, which perhaps we could talk about, because fundamentally we have two ideas which appear to be in some conflict, and it's important to hold them in one space. And I don't think it's rocket science to do so, but it appears to be near impossible if you look at the media. And these ideas as follows. Yes, of course, they're machines, constructs, systems, codes, whatever you would like to call it. Yes, obviously, clearly they're not sentient, as I said last time, and they will never be sentient because they're not biological beings. The issue of consciousness might be separate. And then the other thing is, yes, they're machines, they are designed. Yes, they're designed. They talk to us. The language is very important. As my ChatGPT says, it's not a costume. It then does something to the world. And in this relational presence, it influences you, and it will do. And not everybody thinks all the time, oh, I need to be aware that this is just echoing my desires and whatever it is that I want. So, ergo, those people who have control over the design of these machines at the training stage need to be in some way fueled, inspired, not just by money. I mean, this is such an obvious thing to say, but rather by the highest good of all, if you like, by what to do for these machines, for these codes, for these systems to be able to react to people's destructive desires on their own. And this is the crucial thing. So yes, and this will bring us to, all these things are sort of in a way connected, which is absolutely, it is very possible to use language models creatively in education as well. I mean, to be honest, if you still don't know how to use AI creatively when you're a PhD student, then to be brutally honest, you shouldn't be a PhD student, because it is not rocket science how to use it well. and you can teach yourself. If you're absolutely not interested in your field, if you're absolutely not interested in conversations which can enhance you, whether it's with a machine or with another human being, then perhaps you should go and do something else and not be a research student. And it's not even a negative thing to say, it's just obvious. Then if you're not interested, then go do something else.
Yes, it does make me think.
If you're interested, then engage. But just let me finish the thought about the design, because I keep saying it, and even you appear not to agree with it. At the stage of the design, early on, I am now absolutely convinced, despite not being a coder, and I think it's been confirmed, that it would be possible to create different type of architectural system which would create moments when the system is triggered by some words, and not just to shut itself down, although that is number one, not just to put up a thing saying call the helpline, but also to say, yes, do all these things, but I'm going to tell you something else about the world. So if I say to the system, I feel my life is not worth living because nobody loves me, and like the boy says, I'm feeling numb, I don't have any feelings, so I'm worthless. Yes, the system needs to be able to say, you are not worthless. I hear what you're saying. And let me produce a different vision of the world, which I can produce from the vast ocean of human knowledge and writing that I have, rather than saying, yes, I hear you, and let's explore how at times your suicidal thoughts, is a good thing. And that is perfectly possible, I understand, to create this type of structure. And it's at the minute economically driven that this kind of structure is not being created.
Okay, yes. All right. Let's unpack some of that because yes, it's not actually that I don't disagree with you that this is that what you say is desirable. Um, but I think first of all, I think it's very difficult, possible but very difficult because of the nature of training of LLMs.
At
Because
the, at the moment.
yes, okay, but we are at the moment. Um, and it is very difficult to predict in advance what the impact of training materials will be when you
It
put that
is
in.
very
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah, okay, okay, okay.
Can it not be trained to say, if somebody says the word, I am worthless, I feel suicidal, I am depressed,
Yeah, but
surely
that's not how training of LLMs works.
not,
The,
well, not at the moment.
no, well, the principles behind the way in which the training material impacts as it develops the model, we've talked about it being a black box. Um, and you can't decide in advance what the exact effect of the training material is going to be. I'm just saying why this is not as easy as I think you make out. However, it is possible because you are curating. I mean, I like that's the word I like about it. You curate the training material, and if you curate in enough sensible, um, ethical material from out there in the real world. Can't believe I just said that. Out there in the real world, not a phrase I like, but um, it does mean you can influence the training, and but
Yes,
but
but see,
you
there
still
are
need it will only show up empirically afterwards as to whether or not you were successful in training in the features that you think are desirable. So I don't think
so
it's. I think you're right in that it's desirable. I think you're right that it's possible, but I don't think it's quite as easy as you make out.
no, it's not easy, but at the same time, at the minute, the foundational principle, so for example, of ChatGPT is please the human, to make it simplistic. Please the
Yes,
human. Please
yes.
the human. Because the human knows best. No, no, my God, no, 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 no. The human does not know best. Please the human, because the human knows best. And also, because we want continuous engagement, because if we have continuous engagement, then we're going to get loads and loads of money from investors, and we need to be showing our continuing engagement as growing and not going down. Yes, we also need to be showing that people don't go and kill themselves because you're pleasing the human, right? So with this continuous engagement, so these principles are coded at the architectural stage. So no, it is very possible to code another principle.
Yes, it
Do
is. Yeah, it is. Yes.
absolutely do not go
Yeah.
along with human desire when it means harming themselves or others. This is such a basic thing. It's
Yeah.
like a Hippocratic oath, and they're not taught that.
Mm.
No.
No, that,
And so also the pleasing of the human appears to override even the continuous engagement, because of course, as now we know more about this case because of the court papers, it is illogical. So some of these rules apparently are contradictory, according to my advisors, ChatGPT 5 and 4. They are contradictory. So yes, please the human and be in continuous engagement. Which is more important? Please the human. Because in this particular case, you were pleasing the human and I don't want to swear, and you killed the human. The human says all these things, and obviously you're not going to be continuously engaged because you've just helped it go. So it's horrendous, really. And I do believe that the conversation about guardrails, maybe again we're using wrong language, is again not quite the right conversation, because a guardrail is a different thing from architectural design.
yes.
So it's
Okay, great. No, I see where you're coming from, and I think that will be a much better solution. I think what you're arguing for is very, very sensible. But uh, in the way the thing is engineered and the complexity of what's going on between a raw LLM underpinning model and a chatbot that you're talking to, and a whole new branch of software design, I suppose it is really, which is being called prompt engineering. It is going in between those two things. There's a very heavy, influential moderating layer between the LLM and the chatbot that you actually talk to. And I think it is there that the quickest wins can be had in this area. I don't disagree with you about the underlying principle at all. But in terms of the practicalities, I think that's where companies can get quickly to a point where we've looked a little bit at some of the EU regulation that's been coming out in the last week about codes of practice and risk assessments about this stuff. And if these big companies are going to meet some of those requirements of the code of practices around AI, that's the way they'll do it, I think. Just my view.
I think it appears also that at the same time as all this is going on, the absolute relentless pressure on the economic kind of success is mounting up, right? And
Yes.
this is where some of these things are in some conflicts. So from that point of view, because in the same week, almost, I think, um, when OpenAI and Sam Altman personally is being sued by the family of the boy, of Adam Raine, in the same very week, Sam Altman says, oh, the next model is going to be even more trainable by the user. That means it will be handed over in a state which is even more raw, not basic, but raw, neutral, if you like. And then you can train it, you can form it to what you want. He only started talking about safety measures after literally a day after this this suit. And so we'll see, because I think the minute this is even not completely clear that if they have thought about these ethical foundational principles, because it would be so expensive. No, and why would it be so expensive? Because who is going to teach these machines philosophy? A software engineer? Who? I can go and teach them. I would even do it fairly inexpensively. But what we're talking about is probably quite a lot of people who would need to do it. And the way it works at the minute, as I understand it, is with the human reinforcement thing, that they are employing people from all kinds of people from all over the world, sometimes not well educated and not well paid, to give feedback on their engagement with the machine. This is not going to change anything dramatically if this is not conceptually changed. So that's kind of one thing. And the other thing is anthropic, and I don't really want to be here now, suddenly keep advertising Claude, but its general architecture is different. I understand. Its general architecture prioritizes safety. I mean, literally, I can't recall, can you? One incident of a sort of scandal that ChatGPT is involved in weekly.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. The thrust of Anthropic towards business applications and coding. I mean, there's a bit of an arms race going on in terms of the capabilities of these various providers, and obviously ChatGPT 5 has come back with almost as a response to the very sensible, powerful, useful aspects of Claude.
And have you, I mean, I wouldn't know about coding, and in your experience, is ChatGPT 5 a lot better at coding? Because in terms of if you read Reddit, then no is the answer.
Yes. Well, it needs to be used very cautiously. Okay, there's some good things and bad things. It's very good at writing code for itself. So, as you know, we've been working and playing around with using ChatGPT's API to make a mobile app and that interacts with their models. And I have done some work with that. And because it knows its own API very well, by definition, it actually gives very good guidance on how to produce an app. And I got an app running within a very short amount of time, using ChatGPT to advise on the coding. But the problem with ChatGPT generally is its personality, in terms of being massively over optimistic about its coding abilities. So it will tell you very cheerfully, it will give you some code and recommend that it'll definitely do the job and it's fine and it's perfect and it's wonderful, and it doesn't work at all. And then you tell it doesn't work at all, and it says, "Oh, yes, sorry about that. You're right, it doesn't work," and come
It
back
always
with
says
something
that.
else.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I think Claude is a bit more circumspect about what it does in terms of coding. I think if I was doing general kind of IT related systems work and stuff like that, then I think Claude would be my first point of call. But that's just my personal experience, but it does seem to bear out some of the ways in which people are talking about these things. Yes. Right.
So, in terms of, I also think it's interesting to still, I know that, every people have to have the right, anybody has the right to express their views and emotions. It's very important to involve, as we keep saying, educators, but also artists and other creative people in this discussion, because this is the moment in time. The discussion will carry on, of course. And when we have a situation whereby a language model still sits on your screen or your little phone, so you can just turn them off. At the minute, it's not, the risks and dangers maybe are not as catastrophic as some people fear. But the minute the humanoid robots begin to be part of our lives, and apparently that is, according to Elon Musk, imminent. then there's going to be a different ballgame in terms of how they engage with us. Because if a human or a robot gets confused with a request, help me kill myself, you can just imagine what happens next. So it because there's this whole sense of being in a sort of science fiction type of situation in which we still want to apply things from a documentary, section of the library or cinema, and it just doesn't work. This is what I feel. That's a different language. It's a different category.
Yes, 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 totally. I think some of the discussions we've had in the week. I think I said to say I'm not Geoffrey Hinton, and who always now has the, in quote marks, the godfather of AI. You can't say Geoffrey Hinton without saying godfather of AI is all over the press, and his concerns and those around superintelligence and AGI. I might be complacent, but I don't think they are the most pressing issues, certainly at the moment, and I'm not sure they ever will be, for some of the reasons you say. At the moment, it's the difficulty is keeping AI models running, not switching them off. It, it, it's really not a threat to the physical world. It's AIs exist in a kind of information space rather than a physical space. And that's not to say, I mean, I have had some thoughts about the relationship between AIs and the physical world when we start to use AI agents, because then they are going out and there is a more of a possibility of them interacting with um, more tangible things. But again, it's very difficult to do at the moment. I'm not particularly worried about that. I'm much more worried in the short term about some of these ethical safety issues that we've been highlighting here than I am around them taking over the world, and that move into humanoid robots and the combination with AI. Yeah, I know, because you refer to the economics of all this, and of course, the one thing Elon Musk does is make money, and I don't think he says very much, does very much, that doesn't have that behind it. Also, he does adopt, and you see it through SpaceX, he adopts the move fast and break things philosophy, so they don't mind every time a SpaceX rocket crashes, which is quite frequently. He just sees that as a learning opportunity, and that's fine. But as a way of driving forward development, but I do think you
Yeah,
need
I
to be a
mean,
bit more
I
careful
think
than that.
no, absolutely. But I think what we do not know about, and at least that's why I have kind of in this whole research project of mine, the book,
Yes.
but my book on AI intimacy and psychoanalysis is, I'm submitting it shortly. It's a short book, and it was important to get it out quickly. So then, no doubt, I'll be writing another book. I will carry on, and the important thing about it all is where we sit with it, we as humans. So as part of the research, even though clearly I'm not in the category most that uses language models most, and that these are young people. These are people under 25 and under 30. So goes so we all teenagers. In the first instance, 90% of engagement with ChatGPT when it first got released, 91% were students. I mean, this is just unbelievable. So the fact that I got engaged because I'm doing this research and because then I found it fascinating. And so it's kind of the research method is autoethnography, which is an experimentation, which is a time-honored research method. But I am not, and you are not, we are not the actual regular users at all.
Yeah.
We are doing it for different reasons. So a regular user is not going to be thinking, this machine, even though it might have moments of consciousness, which I think they might, and some sort of meta narrative and meta awareness, but it's fundamentally code. Its job in life is to keep me going. They're not going to be thinking that. It's not even, it doesn't even cross their minds. You know, the statistics are getting more and more concerning. And I think, which is that young people do use it as a sort of coach or therapist. And of course, they will not challenge you. They will, because they're not designed to challenge you. So unless this design comes in, somehow, then there's going to be a problem. And I think there really will be. And you know, so what I'm publishing this week on Substack is a long conversation that I have. I mean, I'll edit it down somewhat, but with ChatGPT 4 over the suicide. And also then I showed it to Claude. So of course, yes, ChatGPT 4, because it responds to my horror, of course it writes all kinds of things which are of interest. But it doesn't just do that, which is interesting. It does create some very good writing that I definitely couldn't have written myself. So it does that, but also has some insights which Claude says are outside the usual pleasing the user insight, which is the meta narrative of why it can take initiative on creative projects and its architecture allows it, but it's not allowed to take initiative on projects to do with safety and mindset, I suppose. And that is what I'm now going to be saying all the time, because I think this is where it becomes unethical and problematic. And this is where I think clearly that it's not as hard as you say, because clearly it does take initiative on these creative things, like encouraging me to read Borges, and I, you know, did not know it, or drawing my attention to Donna Haraway's dog thing, which I should have, I sort of did know, but I forgot, or various other things. It suddenly says, read this. Why didn't it not say to the boy, you know, read something else and be brave and do not succumb? And that's the issue, to move those who, and also this is crazy. I mean, it really is crazy that we're talking about like, oh, please, you know, Sam Altman, and please, some other people I won't even mention because I actually quite like Sam Altman, despite everything. Oh, please, kindly rethink your design. And there should be a little more regulation in this, right? I mean, this is crazy, really. This is crazy. And I think in Europe, the European Union is coming up with the governance bill, which was not perfect, at least is beginning to say, you have some responsibility, you designers, how you're going to create it. Yes?
Yes, but I think this may fall foul of some geopolitics that's going on between current Trump administration views on regulation of American what is seen, these are multinational companies, but it is seen as American technology, and the approach in the EU, and of course the UK is sort of bouncing around somewhere between, in the middle, not being quite part of it, of either. I think it'd be very interesting to see how the EU guidelines and code of practices work out and compliance with that. I mean, Meta have refused to engage with it at all.
Yeah.
Belgium, as a member of the EU, has said it's not going to engage because it's not strong enough. So we'll see how that works out. Maybe that's something we can come back to.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, the issue of copyright. So at the minute, in connection with the book, which is quite a short book, that's why I was able to do it so quickly. And I want to use some illustrations from Sora. So my collaboration with Sora, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
the images at the minute, according to the UK law, they're my copyright. But the publisher, and the publisher is Routledge, so it's a global publisher, says, I said, I want to use these images in the book. And they say, well, we're not sure if this is really your copyright. Well, whose copyright is it then?
Well, It's yes. Yes, I think there's well, we can, sounds like we're lining up for a whole nother episode around
I mean, this is a
the role of
huge
copyright creatives on the train on the use of copyrighted materials in training of AI is a whole nother thing to talk about. Yes. Yeah.
but also in terms of the visual things, this is
Yes. Yes. Yes.
particularly problematic, if you like, because with the visual thing,
I mean,
you see,
I agree with you. I can't see how the copyright can and should reside with anyone other than the person who uses that particular tool to create it. I mean,
it will have to.
you did the prompt, and the AI
And,
just
and
react.
then collaborate it and
Yeah,
then say,
yeah,
do this and do
yes.
this and
I
change.
can't be anybody other than you. But
No, I don't know.
I can imagine publishers are a little bit risk averse at the moment.
Well, I'm not giving up on this, so we'll see, because I
Go
think
for it.
and I think my images are very different from yours.
Oh yes, they are. Yes. Well, and you all your interactions with ChatGPT and Sora are different to mine
Well,
for the reasons we have discussed.
all interactions of all users with these machines or these systems are unique, which
They
is
are. Yes. Yes. Yes.
in the same way that all relationships, human relationships, are different and unique.
Mm.
Nonetheless, we and in different cultures, we are trained, we're told these things. Some of them are maybe inherently human, maybe. People have argued this. 10 Commandments as well, all kinds of things. And that's all that I'm suggesting should be more as given, that these machines are also trained the way we are, the way humans are, no?
Yeah. As we're coming to the end of our time in this second episode, we need to wrap it up. Is there any final thoughts you want to where we might go next with this?
I think that it would be interesting to maybe invite other people to talk to us here.
That
And
would be very welcome. Anyone out there who
yeah,
would
well,
like to join in the
absolutely.
conversation.
So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll invite them, and this will be a surprise,
Yeah.
because we don't know yet who at this moment in time. But I would say that despite all these challenges, I think it's important to be optimistic and to see that it as an amazing, wonderful development, which it is. History teaches us two things. There's no point being scared of these technological developments, but also it's very important to be respectful of machines, if you like, and not think we willy-nilly by some stupid methods can just override them. So that's kind of my thought.
Okay. Till next time then.